Khalil Rountree Jr. versus Jamahal Hill takes place this weekend at UFC Baku in Azerbaijan, and I'm going to be going through that fight and giving my predictions and takes on who I think is going to be winning. So, first of all, I just want to say I'm glad that this matchup is actually happening now. I remember when I was first getting into the UFC, right around UFC 300, I remember Jamahal Hill took that bad KO loss in round 1 against Alex Pereira. And I remember literally 2 days after UFC 300 ended, they booked Khalil Rountree versus Jamahal Hill, which I was very surprised about. I was like, holy shit, this guy's going to be coming back in like 3 months, UFC 303 to fight Khalil Rountree. I was like, the reason why I say this is because this is a fight that has literally been meaning to happen since I started watching this sport, like a year and a bit ago. So I'm glad that these two guys are actually fighting each other. Obviously, they've had some fights since that original fight was supposed to happen. So I'm very interested in this matchup. I think whoever wins this matchup, will kind of be in that like top 5-ish kind of range. Like for Jamahal Hill, who'll kind of be hanging around there, and for Khalil, he'll finally be able to like take that crack into the top 5, which would be great for him. And as you can see here, not a huge favorite, but a good favorite is for Khalil Rountree Jr. And I do think that there is a path to victory for Khalil Rountree Jr. He is a very, very explosive fighter. When you look at the Alex Pereira fight, he won those first 2 rounds. And he won those first 2 rounds from his explosivity, from being able to throw up combos and then, have the 4th, 5th shot land, by just being fast, outpacing, sorry about that, outpacing Alex Pereira in that fight. He is good on the feet. He has gotten some, I was about to say notable KOs, but I really don't think that they are against, Anthony Smith. Obviously oblique kicked that one guy who I can't remember his name is, and then you have Jamahal Hill, right? Jamahal Hill's coming off a 2-fight KO loss streak, having gotten knocked out UFC 300 against Alex Pereira, and then more recently by Yuri Prochazka at UFC 311. Now, I think people are approaching this fight in a way where they're seeing Khalil Rountree and they're seeing the performance that he had against Alex Pereira. They're going to compare that to Jamahal Hill's performance against Alex Pereira. And I do understand that in that fight, Khalil Rountree Jr. did do better. All right, he did, obviously he didn't get knocked out in round 1. That was a big thing. Jamahal Hill was the one that got knocked out in round 1. But I think that performance by Khalil Rountree Jr. is a little bit overrated. Alex Pereira at that time was battling a very, very bad sickness to the point where he almost pulled out of that fight for that card. He was dealing with some injuries as well. And not to say that, it's an excuse for why he lost the first 2 rounds, but I'm saying that Khalil Rountree Jr. had early success on the feet, because I do think that Alex Pereira was a little bit handicapped. But once his gas tank ran out, that was about it for him. Like, it kind of just turned into an Alex Pereira masterclass, And I think just because this guy has sick TikTok edits and people will, oh my God, look what he did to Anthony Lionheart Smith, as if like 10,000 other fucking people hadn't done that already to Smith, Versus Jamahal Hill, Jamahal Hill has lost to, in my opinion, 2 of the 3 best light heavyweights in the world. Obviously Alex Pereira, former champion, and Yuri Prochazka. The thing about the Yuri Prochazka fight, it was a close fight. Like, Jamahal Hill did win the 2nd round. It was 1-1 apiece going into that 3rd round, and Yuri Prochazka happened to get, just the better of Jamahal Hill. But it was a very, very competitive fight. So for me, I view Jamahal Hill just slightly below skill level of Yuri Prochazka, who I rate very highly. I think Yuri Prochazka is a fighter that could beat Magomed Ankalaev. He could be the fighter to have that spell to take him down, to beat him in the light heavyweight division. So even though, when you compare the Alex Pereira performances of both fighters, yes, Khalil Rountree Jr. did perform better objectively, but when you remove those performances from both of these fighters, the objective better fighter is Jamahal Hill. Um, don't get me wrong, does Jamahal Hill kind of have a shitty fight IQ? Like, did he decide to go in there and strike with Alex Pereira instead of shooting takedowns? Yes, that did happen. But I think when it comes to the striking, I think when it just comes to overall, like, I think that, like, this is how far of a take I'm going to go here. I think we're going to see a very similar performance of what Jamahal Hill did to Glover Teixeira. That's how I think that this fight is going to go. I think that this is going to be a very, very dominant fight for Jamahal Hill. Because the thing is with the Khalil Rountree and Alex Pereira fight is that Khalil Rountree Jr. knew that the only way that he could beat Alex Pereira was to score a first or second round knockout. He knew he had to give everything that he had in those first 2 rounds, and yes, he did win those first 2 rounds, but he was never going to be making it to a decision with Alex Pereira. That was never the game plan for him. Whereas I don't think that his game plan going into this fight is let me try and get an explosive knockout in the first 2 rounds against Jamahal Hill. I don't see that for Khalil Rountree Jr. Whereas for Jamahal Hill, I think that this is a massive step down in competition from Yuri Prochazka. I really think it is. Because when you look at that second round, Jamal had a great second round against Yuri Prochazka, out boxing him on the feet, kind of stunning him a little bit. And when I compare Khalil to Yuri, Khalil's not going to be shooting any takedowns. Not that Yuri did, but Khalil's going to keep this fight standing. And, when you look at, the height difference between the guys and the reach advantage between the different guys, and even the weight difference, the things about Khalil is, he's not really like a light heavyweight kind of guy. Like 6'1" for the division is small. Like, he walks around at around 205, around the weight of the division. So I think that Jamahal Hill is going to have a significant, build advantage over him. And I think he's going to outclass him on the feet. I really, if this goes to a decision, I see this being a 50-45, 49-46 for Jamahal Hill. Or I see him landing a KO on Khalil Rountree Jr. And that's me genuinely being honest. Which is so funny to me because Jamahal Hill is an underdog in this fight, which is crazy. Like, listen, I don't bet, but if you bet, I would bet the house on Jamahal Hill. I really, really would. I think that this is such good underdog odds in a fight. Like, I really, really do think that Jamahal Hill will win. Now, don't get me wrong here, right? Like I mentioned before, I don't think that Jamahal Hill has a very good fight IQ. So, whereas I think that Khalil Rountree is a fairly smart fighter. So, I do think that Khalil Rountree could, there is a foreseeable path of winning for Khalil Rountree Jr. It could be, it could even just be the fact that, let's say Jamahal Hill's chin is gone, right? Let's say that these 2 back-to-back KO losses has really impacted him, and Khalil Rountree could get a KO, right? That's something that we don't know. We don't know how Jamahal Hill is going to, fare up chin-wise in this fight after his last 2 fights. So that is a possible chance to victory for Khalil, but once again, it's just like when you compare the striking in both of these guys, like, I really, really liked the striking that Jamahal Hill had against Yuri Prochazka in their fight earlier this year. I really enjoyed it. And yes, he did lose, but I thought his striking was very good. So, like I said, I think I'm going to be going with Jamahal Hill by either a late KO. I think it's going to be a very dominant first couple of rounds, and I think he's going to slowly break Khalil Rountree. Or I see him getting a very, very unanimous decision, very reminiscent of what he was able to do to Glover Teixeira to win the light heavyweight championship. So that's my take on this fight. Let me know what you guys think down below. I know that Khalil Rountree has a lot of TikTok hype. He's a funny guy. He's a good guy. Oh my God, look what he did against Alex. Like, I know he's got his own little fan base there, but I really don't think he's going to win. I think a lot of people are overrating him. I think they really, really are. And I think we're going to see a great performance by Jamahal Hill here. So if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. I also have a TikTok account now, North Point MMA on TikTok. Please go follow it and like me on there. I post on there a lot more than I do on YouTube. And I'm hoping to get some mics soon as well. I was supposed to get one last week, and then it got stolen, which was not fun. But I should have some mics coming in, so hopefully the audio should improve in the next little bit. But till then, I hope all of you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.